We all know about the 6 elements of harmony: generosity, honesty, loyalty, laughter, magic, and kindness. Each is exemplified in each of the main 6, and makes up a large part of their being. However, as Newton's third law dictates, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. This also tends to be true in storytelling, as every character needs an opposite, a contrast, or a foil, to truly make them stand out. For every Celestia, there's a discord, and the same seems to be true for the elements. While the main 6 each exemplify their elements, it's rather obvious that they also embody the negatives involved, elements of disharmony, if you will. As I was looking through the previous seasons, I started to wonder why Discord completely reversed their elements, as it would have worked just as well if he'd made these traits more prevalent. As I've looked through the series, I believe I've identified the more nebulous elements of the main 6's characters: vanity, stubbornness, pride, dependence, naivete, and neurosis. Boiling these down to one word was slightly difficult in some cases, but I feel these words describe the elements well enough. Starting with rarity, or vanity, the dictionary's definition of generosity is the quality of being kind and unselfish, but it also means having a large quantity of something. Rarity does give away some pretty valuable stuff, but in the end, she is blighted with vanity. To reach the point where she could just give away precious stones as tips, Rarity would need a large stockpile of them, to the point where they start losing their value just due to sheer mass. Not that this is a bad thing, however, it's just her usage of them is a little strange. She seems to have gems for every occasion, slapping them on just about every piece of clothing she creates or owns. Rarity seems to have a problem with the plain. She needs to be the center of attention, the prettiest belle at the ball, so to speak. This, combined with her strange obsession of being presentable at all times, never having a hair out of place, shows that she values her looks over just about everything else. And it would make sense if she uses her generosity to fuel her sense of self-worth. It's entirely possible that for every gem or free dress she gives away, she sees it as helping those that aren't as good-looking as her come closer to her perceived notions of perfection. Even generosity has a dark side, and there's always something in it for the giver, even if it's just mental validation. Stubbornness is the realm of Applejack, or rather, hard-headedness is. AJ's dependability seems to roll into the element of honesty, as people trust her to always come bearing the truth, and she never declines helping someone if she can. This leads her to believe herself above help, making her too stubborn to accept it from others unless it is proven to her without a doubt. AJ believes herself capable of things far beyond her actual abilities, and refuses to believe that she can't solve problems herself. Usually, I would call unwillingness to give up a good thing. But there are times where you can't proceed alone, and you need to seek help. Every time AJ has needed help with a task, someone else has had to offer and force their way in. She was at her worst in the last roundup, where her inability to prove her friends right and bring home the prize money led her to abandon Ponyville entirely until she could raise the money she would have received. It's not healthy, and it's a great character flaw for a character based so much on honesty and dependability. The only person she can't bring herself to be honest with is herself. Then we have the element of loyalty, also the element of pride. The one thing that defines Rainbow Dash, other than her loyalty to her friends, is her overinflated sense of pride. Rainbow is overly proud of her talents, and sees herself as basically immortal. She knows that she's talented, and she isn't afraid to tell everyone. I'm fairly certain that Rainbow doesn't even know the meaning of humility. Taking pride in what you can do isn't innately a bad thing, but there's being proud of your talents, and then there's being a braggart. The only time we ever saw Rainbow show self-doubt is during Sonic Rainboom, and that's about it. Every single time since then, she's taken every opportunity to brag and prove how superior she is. This pride leads her to abandon her friends in Rainbow Falls, and also abandon Pinkie in Pinkie Pride, wanting the best party for the best pony. She's arrogant, and even when Discord warped her loyalty in Return of Harmony, her fear wasn't the loss of her friends, it was the destruction of Cloudsdale, the place where she proved her greatness in the Young Flyers competition and performed both of her Sonic Rainbooms, as a child and as an adult. Loyalty is often cultivated from pride in something. Pride in a country can lead to loyalty to that country. Same with friends or a leader. Pride in oneself leads to arrogance, and that is Rainbow's vice. Something that's been addressed many times, yet she always seems to relapse into it. The element of dependence is a strange one, but hear me out. Pinkie's element is laughter. And while that's an incredibly vague concept in of itself, it fits her, as the entire purpose of her existence is making other people happy. She said as much herself. We've seen that when Pinkie is ignored or unable to make people happy, she breaks. She needs the laughter of others as much as she needs food or water. It shows that she suffers from a mental dependence on the happiness of those around her. It is her drug. and she shows withdrawal symptoms if she doesn't get her fix. I'm tempted to label it as a form of schizophrenia, but I feel like it doesn't work here. It's a strange concept to her usual happy self, but what if that's the point? The element of laughter can't feel happiness on her own. She needs the happiness of others. Naivete is defined as inexperience or innocence, and while Twilight Sparkle is very well read and very intelligent, she has shown on many occasions that she is quite naive when it comes to real-world experiences and adapting to change. The element of magic can be assumed to also embody intelligence, thanks to the cerebral nature of magic in the show. So Twilight's lack of practical knowledge and social interaction would be the perfect offset to this. This inability to adapt to real-world situations also carries over to her biggest tick. Twilight cannot handle working off the cuff. She needs a daily schedule, and she very nearly caused a riot when she was going to be a day late in sending a letter to Celestia. She couldn't handle the fact that nothing had gone wrong that week, as if she'd scheduled a block of time in her schedule for something to explode or some pony to start a feud. She always seems to have a book for whatever occasion arrives, but when she doesn't, Twilight proves to be the weakest of the group when faced with the unknown. As the element of magic is the most powerful, this can be the most destructive of all negative traits. Having power, but not the knowledge of its proper use, can prove disastrous for all involved. And finally, the element of neurosis, the downside of being the element of kindness. Fluttershy is, well, shy, but it goes far beyond that, as she has shown that she harbors a seemingly infinite number of social phobias, and is terrified of what people think of her, and is really only at peace when around the animals she cares for. Animals that, may I add, offer her a surprising amount of support when she needs it. Now, I'm not a psychologist, I'm a programmer and a writer, but here's the list of symptoms of neurosis, fresh from the internet. Anxiety, sadness or depression, anger, irritability, mental confusion, low sense of self-worth, behavioral symptoms such as phobic avoidance, vigilance, impulsive and compulsive acts, lethargy, cognitive problems such as unpleasant or disturbing thoughts, repetition of thoughts and obsession, habitual fantasizing, negativity and cynicism. Interpersonally, neurosis involves dependency, aggressiveness, perfectionism, schizoid isolation, and socio-culturally inappropriate behaviors. Now, while not all of these apply, don't quite a few of these seem right up Fluttershy's alley? Anxiety, sadness, depression, low sense of self-worth, phobic avoidance, isolation. Fluttershy has exhibited all of these at least once during the show. Even dependency makes a reappearance, especially since it brought out aggressiveness and perfectionism during the Grand Galloping Gala. When she couldn't retreat to the company of animals and into the perfect night she'd imagined, shy, timid Fluttershy became a megalomaniac, chasing down each animal and trying to make it love her as the animals in Ponyville do. It was a little scary to say the least. She even lives as far away from any pony else as physically possible, without building a house in the middle of the ever-free forest. For all the kindness she shows everyone and everything, she's terrified of it biting her back, as she knows that not every pony is as kind as she is. Opening yourself up to other people is a dangerous thing, as it can make betrayals more painful and insults hit harder than you'd have thought, and Fluttershy knows this. None of these things are bad in their own right, of course. It's not wrong to take pride in one's look, refuse to give up, to be proud of oneself, or to need a little help from someone else. And not everyone knows everything about social interaction either. I know I don't. Even being a little neurotic isn't inherently bad. Some people prefer isolation to being surrounded by others. The problem becomes when you allow these things to consume you. And the worst part is, as they embodied the elements of harmony, the main six must also embody the elements of disharmony, as they make up the darker side of the same coin. I'd like to see this explored in the future, as elements seem to get mentioned every other sentence sometimes, and maybe expanded upon. What better way to make our favorite ponies more three-dimensional than to better understand and explore their flaws? It might even make some people reevaluate their thoughts on the pony they like the least. What do you know? Maybe they could make me like Rarity. In the end, each of these character traits are intrinsic to the element of harmony. After all, nobody said harmony is exclusively good. Harmony is a balance between good and evil, and is neither in of itself. The writers of the show may have intended this when they first came up with the characters, or maybe they developed them as the show went on. But it's still amazing just how deep these characters can go. It seems obvious for some of them. I mean, we all knew that Rarity was vain and Rainbow was prideful, but the fact that they tie into their elements is truly great. What makes it better is that each element of disharmony ties into the other, like the regular elements do. Vanity begets pride. Pride breeds stubbornness. The stubborn can be naive in their own way, and each of these can breed neuroses if left unchecked. Well, this took a while to put together, but here it is. We've been staring at the Element of Disharmony. Tell me down below, what do you think of these traits evident in the main six, or do you think that there's better candidates for Elements of Disharmony? Special thanks, actually, to Dr. Wolf, who took a look over my script when I thought I was hitting a brick wall and I wasn't sure if I could actually get this video going. So, big thanks to you, Doc. You're a lifesaver. As always, I'm Nozvix, and if you would, please like, comment, favorite, subscribe, and I'll see you around.